All right, let's talk about time travel. I mean, who hasn't dreamed of it, right? Going back to fix a mistake or jumping ahead to see what the future holds. It's this deep human desire to control time itself. And today, we're going to dive deep into that. We'll look at the real science, but also a bit of the philosophy behind it all.
So, the million-dollar question, is this whole time travel thing just science fiction? Or is it, actually possible? Well, the answer is kind of complex, and it might not be what you expect. It really all boils down to what time is. And to get to the bottom of it, we've got to go back and look at this huge debate between two of the smartest people who ever lived. And man, their ideas about time were polar opposites. Okay, so in one corner you've got Sir Isaac Newton. He saw time as this unstoppable arrow. You fire it and it just flies straight at the same speed forever. It's absolute, unchanging, no matter what. But then Einstein comes along and basically says, hold on a second. He thought of time more like a river. Sure, from far away it looks like it's flowing one way, but when you get up close, you see it swirls, it speeds up in some places, slows down in others, and it has to bend around things. And guess what? In this epic showdown of scientific minds, Einstein totally won. It turns out time isn't this rigid clock ticking the same for everyone, everywhere. It's way weirder than that. It's flexible. It's relative. It can actually be bent. So the next big question is, how? Okay, so if time can be bent, how in the world do you do it? Well, the secret is hidden in the very fabric of our universe. This is where Einstein's genius really shines. He gave us this idea called space-time. The easiest way to think about it is like a giant cosmic trampoline. It's this four-dimensional fabric that weaves everything together. The three dimensions of space, up, down, left, right, forward, back, and the single dimension of time.
So stick with me on the trampoline thing. What happens when you put a heavy bowling ball right in the middle? It creates a dip, right? It warps the surface. Well, in space, massive things like planets or the sun do the exact same thing to that fabric of space-time. And here's the mind-blowing part. The deeper that warp from gravity, or the faster you're zipping through space-time, the slower time itself actually ticks for you.
And look, this isn't just some crazy theory on a chalkboard. This effect, it's called time dilation, and it is absolutely real. It's something we can measure. We have proof. And you couldn't ask for a more perfect real-world experiment to show this. Meet Scott and Mark Kelly. They're identical twins, genetically the perfect control group. And one of them was about to go on a pretty wild ride. Scott spent nearly a whole year up on the International Space Station. Just think about that. He was circling the globe at a staggering 17,500 miles per hour, all while being in a weaker gravitational field than his brother down on Earth. So when Scott finally came back to Earth, scientists checked the clocks, so to speak, and they found he was now, ever so slightly, younger than Mark. We're talking 5 milliseconds. It sounds tiny, right? But it's everything. It's concrete proof. Scott Kelly had, in a very real sense, traveled 5 milliseconds into his brother's future. Now, you might be thinking, okay, 5 milliseconds, big deal. But this same exact principle is working right now, every single day, in a piece of tech that's probably in your pocket. Your phone's GPS. Seriously, how does it work? Well, it talks to satellites, whipping around the Earth at about 8,700 miles per hour. Because of their speed and distance from Earth's gravity, time for those satellites actually runs a little bit slower than it does for us down here, by about 7 microseconds every single day. So the engineers have to constantly, daily adjust their clocks. If they didn't make that tiny correction for time dilation, your GPS would be off by miles within a day. So yeah, time travel is literally what helps you find the nearest coffee shop.
All right, so we've pretty much proven that traveling to the future is real. We do it all the time, even if it's just in tiny little increments. But that leads to the big question, the one everybody really wants to know. What about going backwards? Can we travel to the past?
And this is where things get messy, really messy. You run into all sorts of logical nightmares, like the famous grandfather paradox. You know the one? What if you built a time machine, went back, and, accidentally prevented your grandfather from meeting your grandmother? Well, then your parents wouldn't be born, which means you wouldn't be born. So who went back in time in the first place? See, it's a brain-breaking loop that physics just doesn't have a good answer for. The late, great Stephen Hawking had a really simple but kind of devastating take on this. He basically asked, if time travel to the past is possible, where are all the tourists from the future? And it's a great point, right? You'd think we'd be bumping into them all the time, but we're not. And that's a big reason why most scientists think traveling backward is probably off the table. Impossible.
But what if we've been looking at this whole thing from the wrong angle? Maybe we get so caught up in the physics and the paradoxes that we miss the most profound and personal truth about time travel.
Because here's the thing. You are a time traveler. Right now. We all are. Every second of every day, we are traveling from a past we can't change into a future we can't predict. It's a one-way trip. So the real question isn't if we time travel, but where we choose to spend our time mentally during the journey.
Just think about it for a second. How many of us spend our days stuck in the past? Replaying old mistakes, carrying around regrets like they're heavy baggage. And then there are the rest of us, who live completely in the future. We're always just chasing that next thing, the next promotion, the next vacation, the next whatever, thinking, then I'll be happy. We're either living in our memories or our daydreams.
But in all that mental time hopping, back and forth, when do we ever actually live? Right here, in the present. We miss the only moment that is actually tangibly real, this one.
You've probably heard that old saying, right? Yesterday's history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why it is called the present. It sounds a little cliché, but man, is it true. It's such a powerful way to remember that all we really truly possess is right now. Look, we can't invent a DeLorean to go back and fix our mistakes, and we can't know for sure what the future holds. The only point in time where we have any control, any power to act at all, is now, this exact moment.
So in the end, the most important question about time travel isn't about wormholes or paradoxes. It's much more personal. It's about you. You're already on this incredible journey through time. The real question is, how are you going to spend your present?